All right, last night, Israeli special forces rescued two hostages held in Rafah. Now, this is an area in southern Gaza where a lot of the refugees have congregated, and these two hostages were being held in a highly concentrated area where civilians are at. Now, this daring overnight raid came after President Biden instructed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to proceed with military action into Rafah. And just days after a White House address where the president described Israel's response to Hamas terrorist attacks as over the top. Now, what does this reveal about the White House strategy and their tactics toward Israel? Joining me now to talk about this, Congressman Keith Self. He serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee and the House Veterans Affairs Committee. He represents the 3rd Congressional District of Texas. Congressman Self, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thank you, Tony. Great to be here with you on a great topic.
Well, it appears, rightfully so, that Israel is not listening to the Biden administration and taking care of business.
Yeah, I will tell you, 70%, more than 70% of Israelis support the dismantling of the Hamas leadership. I served with the IDF as the operations desk officer at the USUCOM for a couple of years. I've been all over Israel. I believe that they are sincere and they are committed to their own self-defense this time. And I believe that you're right. Bibi is not listening to Biden, nor should he, because he has the mission of defending his right to exist and the security of his people.
So what's behind the White House position on this? What are they attempting to do?
Well, they've tried to destabilize, they've tried to pull America back from the world stage now for 3 years. And this is only part of it. They have Iranian sympathizers across the Biden administration in very high levels. So this is no surprise. This should be no surprise to us that they would not be fully committed to Israel's right to exist and to defend itself.
Do they think that they can just make all this go away? I mean, do they really think that they can appease Hamas, Iran, and all of these people who want to destroy both Israel and the United States?
Well, they're not going to be able to appease them, Tony. Look, we know that just take UNRWA. 90% of the UNRWA, the UN employees in Gaza, are local Palestinians. Half of them has direct ties to the Hamas terrorists, family ties. They're not going to appease them. They're not going to appease Iran. And this is Biden just needs to step aside and let Bibi do what he wants to do, what the Israeli citizens want him to do, and that is totally dismantle the Hamas infrastructure. I mean, look at UNRWA. Underneath the UNRWA headquarters was a Hamas data center being supplied electricity from the UNRWA office.
I mean, look at these two hostages that were rescued, where they were at. They were on the 2nd floor of an apartment building. I mean, they're being held in a highly concentrated civilian area.
And you've got to understand, whether it be a mosque, whether it be an apartment building, once you hide hostages or you use them for military purposes, they lose their protected status. So, you know, Hamas is using the Palestinian population as human shields for their activities. Most of what they've been given in aid has gone to their actions against Israel, not to support their people. Hamas is a terrorist organization.
And where is the rest of the world speaking out on that?
Not many people are. This is a terrible time for Israel. They have got to stay the course. We who support Israel have got to support them actively and vocally to allow them to go about their defense of their nation.
I mean, they're almost in an impossible situation where the Hamas is conducting military operations in the heart of civilian areas. And if Israel's going to neutralize that threat, I mean, it's like threading a needle. I mean, they are doing the best they can, but where the international community should be weighing in with Hamas, telling them to stop doing what they're doing, using civilians as human shields, as you pointed out.
Well, the UN as a whole has been anti-Israel, anti-Zionist for decades. We know that. We routinely have used our Security Council veto to protect Israel. And I think that's one of the last red lines that we need to be talking about is we cannot abandon Israel in the UN. We've got to continue to use our veto power against the anti-Semitic UN.
So I'm going to go back to what the White House is trying to accomplish here by essentially tying the hands of Israel behind their back as they take on this terrorist organization. Is this designed to appease the president's base, the Democratic base that is turning more and more pro-Hamas?
Yeah, it's election time. We're in an election season. So, yeah, I suspect that's part of it. Part of it is they've been pro-Iran and Iran proxies now for a while. They have allowed this to happen. We saw this testing of us across the world soon after the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. And this is just the Gaza, the Red Sea, Ukraine itself. All of this is testing because of the weakness of the Biden administration. So I'm not sure I would give them that much credit. It may just be the weakness of the Biden administration. We've lost deterrence around the world. So when we tell anyone don't do something, they're not going to listen because we have lost deterrence, which takes both the capability and the will. We don't have the will to deter anyone.
And Congressman Self, from a historical perspective, it takes a long time to rebuild that credibility internationally once you've lost it.
It does, absolutely, because if people don't fear us, and we are supposed to be the superpower, if people don't fear us, then we have no deterrence. So how do we rebuild that? First of all, we've got to have an administration that understands that peace through strength is not just a saying, it is real.
Congressman Keith Self, always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for joining us on this Monday afternoon.
Thank you, Tony, and have a great day.
You too.